Hi, I'm Ian Gordon along with Dennis Pitzenbarger and Nick Miles. Welcome to this episode of Fuel. Nick, what's on this week's show?
On this week's show, two behind the wheels, we're going to take a look at the Hyundai Elantra and the Nissan Quest. And then we're going to celebrate 60 years with Saab.
And it all starts right now.
Welcome back to the Fuel Show. Still to come, we'll have some fuel news, our second behind the wheel, the 2007 Nissan Quest, and then we'll be celebrating 60 years with the Saab Motor Company. But now it's time for our first behind the wheel, the 2007 Hyundai Elantra. Now the Elantra is known by many different names around the world. It originally came onto the scene in 1991 and was powered by a Mitsubishi engine. Well, now we're in the fourth generation, and it was released at last year's New York Auto Show. Dennis and Ian take a first look at the 2007 Hyundai Elantra.
The first category for the Hyundai Elantra is Q Factor. It's the gadget or tech score and 172-watt sound system, 6 speakers, MP3, aux input, or optional 220-watt sound system. That definitely bumps the Q Factor.
Well, sure. When you have to look at a vehicle like an Elantra that's around $15,000 to $20,000, you have to look at what it has as basic items to kind of score it in the Q Factor. Now, we're not talking about navigation systems or backup cameras. We're talking about things like a barrage of standard airbags, standard anti-lock brakes, standard traction control. These are the type of items that matter to a buyer that's in this price range. Not so much the fancy stereos. Now, it is nice to have some great tunes when you're going down the road, and it does have a very thought-out computer system that will obviously do everything that it needs to do. Fuel management systems, all the little things that today's cars have. It doesn't have anything that's overly fancy, and that's why the score is going to reflect that. But again, it's the standard safety and traction and all those type of things that really bring it into the fold.
Yeah, I mean, just for safety equipment alone, we'll give it 3.5 for Q Factor. The next category for the Hyundai Elantra is curb appeal. It's how the car looks. And, well, it is an entry-level vehicle, so you kind of have to take that into consideration. But overall, it's got some pretty decent lines.
Well, sure, it is kind of a handsome-looking little vehicle. I wouldn't say that we're going to set the world on fire. And Hyundai has done a nice job of kind of differentiating themselves from other cars. When you look at it, you don't see its competitors. You don't see, certainly, a Honda Civic. You don't see a Toyota Corolla. What you see is a Hyundai. And I think that means something. I think it'll show in the score. For us, it's distinctive, and it isn't really that bad looking for the price range.
Yeah, curb appeal for the new Hyundai Elantra, 3.25. Performance is the next category for the Hyundai Elantra. Power is provided by a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder, 138 horsepower, actually tops in its class.
Can you imagine 138 horsepower in a standard car? I mean, I remember back in the 80s when 138 horsepower would have been smoking in your Scirocco 16 valve. I mean, it's just amazing how much things have changed. Now, it is peppy. It has a little zip. I mean, it's kind of fun to drive. I don't want to say kind of like I'm being derogatory. I mean that realistically, that someone who buys an entry-level car is going to get a little sport with this thing.
Like it's actually fun to drive, not kinda.
Yeah, good point. Now, the one thing I will point out, the kind of mileage that I got in this vehicle, I would say that you could very easily even get close to 400 miles out of a tank. In today's world of $3 gasoline, I think that means a lot to a buyer.
Absolutely. This is a cool little car. 3 for performance. Fit and finish is the next category for the new Hyundai Elantra, and long past are the suspect days of Hyundai's build quality, and here they've done a great example of trickling down that technology from their higher-end models to the new low-end models.
Well, sure, they wouldn't back it up with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty for the original owner if they didn't mean that it was going to last. Now, yeah, I wouldn't say that if you were down at some pot lot and somebody tried to put you into a 200,000-mile 89 Elantra that you might want to have it checked out a little bit. These cars are different. I'm telling you, these things feel as if they are built along any other vehicle's line in any other manufacturer's plant. You slam the doors, they feel good. You slam the hood, it feels solid. You look in and out of the vehicle, it is really a well-built machine. Now, is it going to last forever? Time will only tell. If you take care of it, I think it will.
Proof positive that inexpensive doesn't mean cheap is the Hyundai Elantra. 4 for fit and finish. Drivability is the final category for the Hyundai Elantra, and you talk about inexpensive, a good build quality, pretty fun to drive. The only thing I think it lacks is kind of the creature comfort zone.
Well, and you can't really knock it for being a $15,000 base entry vehicle that doesn't have a $2,500 navigation system. And we'll be realistic. This car is built for someone either buying their first car, maybe some parents sending their kid off to college, or just someone that really is buying a vehicle for just that day-to-day A to B technology. They don't care about anything that's like flashy or bling bling or any other little words you want to place there. I mean, it's really just about getting from their job to home to their errands, and getting around, and this car will do it in spades.
It does, and it's fun to drive. 3.75 for drivability.
Let's see how Dennis and Ian scored the 2007 Hyundai Elantra. For Q-Factor, they gave it a 3.5. In curb appeal, a 3.25. When we got to performance, what's under the hood, it got a 3.0. For fit and finish, a 4.0. And drivability, the overall usefulness of a vehicle, it got 3.75. The total for the 2007 Hyundai Elantra is 17.5 out of a possible 25. Still to come on Fuel, our second behind the wheel, the 2007 Nissan Quest. We'll be celebrating 60 years with Saab, and when we return, it's Fuel News.